The new head coach of the Rams is John Robinson, and one of his best friends, maybe his best friend, is our CBS analyst, John Madden, who is, of course, with me. John, what do you think your buddy has to accomplish? What do you think he wants to accomplish?
Well, I was talking to John last night and then again this morning, and he really doesn't know what to expect, but I'll guarantee you one thing. He will be excited today on opening day, and there's going to be a lot of changes in the Rams. They have 18 new faces on that team this year. On defense, they've gone away from a 4-man line, and they're in a 3-man line now. Of course, they have Eric Dickerson, a great runner. And the one other thing they have is no quarterback controversy. Vince Ferragamo is the quarterback.
Bill Parcells, the new head coach of the Giants, was their defensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach. You spent a lot of time with him yesterday. What did he have to say?
Well, the same thing. He really doesn't know about this team. He said, you play those preseason games, you're playing a lot of players, you don't really know how good you are. I think he feels comfortable with the defense. Of course, he was a coordinator. But the offense, he had a quarterback contest, and of course Scott Bruner won that, and he'll start today. But he said the big thing is a running game. He said he wants to be able to rush the football. Last year, the Giants were last in rushing in the NFL, and he said he wants to get that started today.
So the Giants won the toss, and as you would expect, of course, have elected to receive. They send Billy Camfield back deep. The kicker is Chuck Nelson, one of those new Rams, number 13. There is number 35, Billy Camfield. Of course, he came from the Eagles, a familiar name in these parts. Chuck Nelson with a good leg. Been a little bit erratic, quite honestly. And this Giant crowd, you should have heard the welcome that they gave the players when the Giants were introduced. And now they start steady applause. I don't know how long that's going to last. Nelson aims it high, and it will be Camfield at the bottom, making the four. Billy Camfield is hit hard as the Rams do a good job on defense. A.J. Jones made the stop. The Giants backed in receivers. Bruner, Wolford, Carpenter, Ernest Gray, and John Missler. The offensive line, and that is something that is a bit of a question. Vincent Ard, Humphrey Turner, and Gordon King. It's the same line as last year. And Zeke Mowat is a new tight end. Rams have a man hurt. Not sure who he is yet. Number 66, I believe. Yes. Williams on defense. Eric Williams. Youngblood, Meisner, and Reggie Doss. As John Madden mentioned, it is a 3-man front now, and 4 linebackers: Owens, Youngblood, Jim, Eckern, and Andrews. In the secondary, Kurt Collins and Leroy Irvin, the cornerbacks. Johnny Johnson and Nolan Cromwell have switched positions. Williams is still down. They had to get hurt anytime, John, but when it happens on the first play of the new season, that's really bad.
Eric Williams, they had waived him this week on the last cut when he cut down to 49, and then they just picked him up again the other day.
Eric comes off with a little bit of assistance. So it'll be first down for the Giants when they come out of the huddle at their own 22. Scott Bruner, in his career, not one of those impressive percentage statistical quarterbacks, but he gets the ball upfield.
That was one of the reasons I think that he's starting for the Giants today.
Rob Carpenter and Butch Wolford. Missler in motion. Bruner will put it up on first down, and so do the referees. Mowat makes the reception. Penalty marker down.
Zeke Mowat is an interesting story. He was a free agent, not drafted, from Florida State. Not only came in and made this team, but he's a starter. The thing that Bill Parcells likes about him, Pat, is not his receiving, but his blocking. He said for the first time in years, the Giants finally have a tight end who can block.
6'3" and 238. And in the Florida State system, that was what he was used for. They had another tight end who came in on receiving down.
Offside, defense, number 85.
Jack Youngblood. jumps off sides too soon. New position for Jack, and we'll be watching him throughout the afternoon. 1st and 5. To make contact and take him down. Carpenter had an off year last year. Of course, you remember he had that long holdout. Finally settled his contract difficulties and came back. The year before, he had a great year.
Of course, they drafted Butch Woolfolk, the other running back, number 1, and they really haven't had an opportunity to work together until this training camp.
So it's 2nd and 3. And in the Giant scheme of things, those two running backs have to be willing to achieve blocking for each other. And off to Woolfolk. To the 30. Shy of the first down as Youngblood tripped him up. Jack.
You know, it's an interesting thing that Bill Parcells was saying is they wanted to be able to run Woolfolk and Joe Morris, his backup, to the outside. He said they hadn't been able to get outside before, so everything was inside. He said now that he has a tight end, Zeke Mowat, they hope that they can get outside those corners.
Now on 3rd and 2, the Giants move into an offensive set with 3 tight ends. Mowat, Mulledy, and Malcolm Scott. Mulledy in motion. Bruner gets to Rob Carpenter, who gets to the outside and gets the Giants first down to about the 37. Johnny Johnson came up to make the stop.
For a big guy like Rob Carpenter is, he can sure make that bounce out. Most fullbacks take it inside and keep it inside, but watch him. He starts up to the inside and just outruns the entire defense and gets man-on-man on a corner, and when that, on a safety, but in short yardage, you'll always get the first down in that situation.
Bill Parcells over on the sideline wearing the headset. His first game, regular season-wise, as a new head coach. On first down, Bruner will throw. Under pressure by Youngblood. Throws it away. Good pass rush by Jack Youngblood.
Yeah, something happened out there, Pat. They had a screen developing out there with the lineman, but there was no back out there to catch the ball. It's kind of tough. Let's see if we can see it here. It's going to go out to the left and see what happens to the back, because we'll see the line get out there. It's probably Butch Woolfolk. He goes to the right. Carpenter goes to the right. Carpenter was trying to sneak out there. I think they grabbed him. You see, he only has 2 guards. He just threw it out of bounds. Heck with it. Tee it up next time.
2nd and 10. I think you're exactly right. Bruner back now. Here comes Youngblood again. Right around Gordon King, and Jack Youngblood, who thought about retiring, doesn't look like he'll think about it too much longer.
I saw Jack Youngblood practice yesterday. The Rams practiced out here, and they just had on shorts and T-shirts, and he looks in the best shape that I've seen in the last 5 years. He's always had this great move. Let's watch it again. He'll come from the left-hand side here, the right-hand side, from the outside. He's going to come right around King, and here he comes, and Bruner doesn't have a chance.
So 3rd down and 19. Back at the Giant 28. No score. First possession of the game so far. Bruner back again. Bruner down the middle. Had a man open. It was Danny Pittman. That one, I believe, should have been a Giant first down. Nolan Cromwell made the hit on Danny Pittman. The first score in the NFL today was by the Green Bay Packers. It came on a 22-yard pass from Lynn Dickey to Paul Kaufman. The Packers lead Houston 7-0. Dave Jennings. Henry The linebackers, what a great group. Van Pelt, Kelly, McLaughlin in place of Carson, and Lawrence Taylor. Secondary, Dennis Jackson, Reese, and Courier. Veteran group, 2nd and 3, 7 yards for Dickerson on his first pro carry. Farmer in motion, Dickerson again. He gets a ran, well, he's close to a ran first down. Dickerson, who had such a great college career, had a good preseason. They'll measure this one, see if they have the sticks. I don't believe it is.
You saw him in the lobby of the hotel yesterday, and in street clothes, he even looks like an all-star.
He really does.
He's a lot taller than I thought. He's 6'3".
Yeah. I was at a couple of banquets with him during the offseason. As Dick Bass, the great Ram runner, was talking to us before, saying he looks like a star, as you said.
Carries himself like one.
Carries the ball like one.
And I'll tell you, he got a lot of money. He was the 2nd player taken in the NFL draft, but he'll earn it this year.
Yeah, they planned a busy year for him. Big things. We'll have to figure out at the end of the year how much he gets per carry.
Dickerson right, Dickerson left, and Dickerson up the middle.
The Minnesota Vikings lead Cleveland 7-0. 1-yard run by Ted Brown. Those Vikings might surprise a lot of people. Ferragamo does it himself and does get the Ram first down. Right at midfield. Eric Williams, who was injured on the opening kickoff, has a bruise on his leg. He'll be out at least the rest of the first half. I see him sitting on the table on the Ram bench now. He doesn't seem to be in any terrific discomfort. There he is.
Eric Williams was a linebacker at USC when John Robinson was there. Played with the St. Louis Cardinals.
From midfield, Ferragamo with his first pass. Outside, his receiver, Mike Barber, slipped down. There's a wet spot right where Barber was trying to run that pattern. Brad Van Pelt was out there with him. St. Louis 7, New Orleans nothing. 11-yard pass from Lomax to Marsh. Next Sunday, don't forget, the NFL Today, of course, begins it. The Giants will be in Atlanta, Washington against Philadelphia, and Dallas against St. Louis. All begins at 12:30 Eastern Time. 2nd and 10 now. Ferragamo looking over the defense. Gooman flanks to the right. Dickerson goes deep. Draw play, Eric Dickerson. Wow. That was a pretty good juke in the middle of that run.
Well, you know, Bill Parcells was saying yesterday, said he's a skipper. He said, he's one of those guys that can skip, and I know what he means. I think we see it right here. Look, it's a delay play or draw. You see that little skip in there? Another skip in there. There's only about 2 or 3 guys that have ever played this game that have those skips.
I may be wrong, John, but I think that's something that you can't teach.
You don't teach that when they're born with that one.
3rd down and 3 from the Giant 43. Dickerson again the lone setback. Dickerson is working. He is very close one more time to a Ram first down. Brian Kelly made the stop. Right now for an NFL Today report, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York. All right, Brent, no score at Giant Stadium, but the Rams are on the move, measuring for a first down as we come back. First down, Rams.
That could have been John Robinson's first interesting call in the NFL. Had that not been a first down, and you get 4th down on the 40, what do you do? Knowing John, he would have been so excited. You know, opening day, the season's starting. We're here, we're playing. He would go for it. That's the way he'd do it.
Denard comes out wide to the left, Farmer to the right. Eric Dickerson getting a workout so far. Warm afternoon at Giant Stadium. Gooman is the man in motion. Dickerson stays in, now checks out. Here's Gooman. Another Ram first down. Hit down by Terry Jackson first, with an assist from McLaughlin.
There's John Robinson. Look, he's calm now, but I know what's under that shirt. That's God, that's a lot of stuff juggling under there. You know, I think they see that guy go in motion so much, that Gooman, and he blocks and he goes here, that he goes out for a pass and no one pays any attention to him.
Bill Parcells over on the other side of the field, a 12-yard pickup on that pass completion from Ferragamo to Gooman. From the Giant 28. Farmer comes in motion. Cuts upfield and Ferragamo drops. Has a man open. David Hill, who they obtained from the Lions, brought down by Brad Van Pelt.
And we were talking before the game and saying that the Rams have 18 roster changes on this team, 18 new players. They made a lot of trades. John Robinson was saying that he thinks the biggest trade they made was for David Hill.
I talked to David Hill before the game, and I asked him how he liked Los Angeles. He said, I like it so much, I'm even enjoying the smog.
I'll tell you when you can really tell if they enjoy it, if they tell you that they enjoy practicing in the smog.
Right. It is hard to breathe. Second down, 2 from the 20. Hill swinging back. This is Eric Dickerson looking inside, looking for his hole. Got another first down before he stopped by Lawrence Taylor. Let's have a look, John, at some of those.
Look at all those guys. Russ Bollinger is starting today in the place of Dennis Hara. He was, of course, traded to Detroit. David Hill, Steve Fuller, who's a backup quarterback from Kansas City. Eric Harris, he'll be a cornerback for him. Gary Jeter, the old Giant, he's a backup defensive end. We'll probably see him. Look at that list. Just goes on and on and on.
Those are just the veterans. 18 new faces. 3rd and 1. And it's a very short one. A.J. Jones. But this is Dickerson. He may not have it. He only needed about a foot. But it's going to be close, so John Robinson may indeed have a chance to make that call.
A lot of interesting things here. The old right foot, left foot deal, where they spot the ball. And we'll get if it's not. It's not. It's 4th down. Well, he's already made that decision. He's going to go for the field goal. And a rookie kicker. Let's watch the middle of that line there. The nose tackle, Bill Neal, does a nice job on Doug Smith. You see that? To run in the middle, that center, Doug Smith has to get movement on that nose tackle. Bill Neal took Smith and put him in the backfield. You can't gain it if you don't get some movement.
Chuck Nelson will try from 32 yards out. And it's good. Nelson, the rookie from Washington, the most accurate field goal kicker when he was in college in the history of the NCAA, and the Rams break on top 3-0. Chuck Nelson's first professional field goal.
What a relief.
Kickers make very good officials.
They sure do, even as that hand slap down. We were watching practice yesterday, and I don't think I've ever seen a more nervous kicker the day before the game than Chuck Nelson yesterday.
He's about to kick off, and he won't be quite so nervous now after that first one got through. Billy Campfield back deep for the Giants. From the 3 this time. Rams down quickly. Penalty marker down. Raiders lead Cincinnati 7-0. 1-yard run by Marcus Allen against the Giants. Baltimore over New England, 3-0, first quarter. Raul Allegre, the field goal.
Offensive holding, number 62 on the kick return team.
Andy Hedden, 62, on the left there, who was holding. He's another impressive rookie for that Giant team.
Another tall, good linebacker. First and 10 from the 10 for the Giants. And Brunner, the inside handoff to Brooks Wolfel. Nothing doing as Carl Eckern tore that play down from the very beginning. A few boos already.
These Giant fans always have such great expectations for this Giant team. You know, the Super Bowl, here we come, and all that. They'll say in the introductions today, they were going crazy this place, and now done anything yet.
It's always sold out, and they keep coming back, and they have for so many years. Of course, this is a great stadium. Brunner to Carpenter. Carpenter has some yards before he's tripped up at about the 13 by strong safety this year, Nolan Cromwell. Why do you think Robinson made that switch between Cromwell?
Well, you know, with all the motion and the tight ends and everyone moving, it's tough this year to have a strong safety and a weak safety. So the Rams started out leaving Nolan Cromwell on the left and Johnny Johnson on the right. And if the tight end came to their side, they were strong. If the tight end went away, they were weak. And they found out that Cromwell was doing much better when he was on the strong side, so they made him a strong safety.
Back goes Brunner again. Complete. Danny Pittman managed to hang on to this one. That must be a pattern that they like and think will succeed. 19 yards, first down.
Well, watch Danny Pittman here. He'll come off the line. He's going to run it in. You see it's a zone. See the corner's off, safety's off, everyone's loose. They just let him run that pattern right in front of him. And as long as those corners, Leroy Irvin and Kurt Collins, play that deep and give that much room, that pattern will be there all day.
Brunner will throw again if he has time. He doesn't. Hit from behind by the blitzing linebacker George Andrews and really popped.
Andrews comes out there and he beats the left guard. Watch 67, Billy Ard. He comes out there. He's in good position, but he didn't have his legs up under him. Andrews came out, took on the guard, threw him off, and hit Brunner just as he threw the ball. That's tough. You know, when you put a guard on that linebacker, doggone, you have to get him blocked.
He did a reverse pivot coming out of the line for some reason.
It's an old trick where you go like you're dropping back and then you come forward.
Here goes Brunner again. Screen pass set up, batted away. Slipped out of his hand. I'm sorry, nobody batted it away, and he picked it up. Carl Eckern dropped him to the turf. And now the officials say he was in the act of throwing, I believe, John.
I think they're leaving the ball there, but you know, sometimes a quarterback's hands get slippery. And it looks like this happens to Brunner because he just sets up here. Now watch, he brings the ball back, and as he brings it back to throw it forward, it just falls out, and then he picks it up and gains a few yards with it. Nice little move. Looks like Dickerson.
Yeah. Scoreboard says 2nd and 7. The sideline says 3rd and 7. Brunner makes it academic. Danny Pittman makes it first down. Giants at midfield. Kurt Collins on the stop. For an NFL update, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Pat, here's how the St. Louis Cardinals scored. Neil Lomax, who's just getting better and better. He avoids the New Orleans pressure. Doug Marsh is open, an 11-yard score, and it is 7-0. Let's go back to Pat and John.
Here at the Meadowlands Giant Stadium, it's the Rams 3, the Giants nothing. St. Louis, another team that might surprise a lot of people. Mulledy and Mowat in the game. They run Carpenter to the left. He cuts back to the right. He got about 3. Johnny Johnson came up to make the initial contact.
One of the things that John Robinson is concerned about is his defense, and he's concerned with the other team banging away at him, just running straight at him, because he really doesn't have the type of defensive lineman to play a 3-man line. I mean, Jack Youngblood, Reggie Doss, those are defensive end types in a 4-man line.
2nd and 7, and Brunner under pressure. Ball batted away. Hit by Greg Meisner, the nose tackle. Zeke Mowat was the intended receiver. A couple of other scores. Atlanta 6, the Chicago Bears nothing. They missed the extra point. Bill Andrews scored. William Andrews, he prefers. Pass from Bartkowski. 3rd down and 8 from the Ram 47. Gang of receivers come to the right. Now part of the gang goes left. Now there are 3 to the right. Missler goes in motion. Now he comes back. Rams, I believe Youngblood jumped offside. That's Missler who made the catch. Close to first down yardage.
Jack Youngblood is anxious today. I think he's looking forward to a big year. He was a little too anxious on that play, jumped offside. Now the Rams do go back to a four-man line on passing down. That means that Jack Youngblood then can get a little wider on that tackle. See that three-man line, that brings those ends in where they darn near have to line up head up on those tackles. The four-man line, when they have tackles inside of them, then they can line up wider on the tackles and get up the field.
Which Youngblood much prefers.
He's made a living for years at that.
Been doing it for 12 years. Bob Frederick.
Defense, offside, number 85, third down.
That'll make it 3rd and 2 from the 42. It'll be the Giant 42. The Rams leading 3-0. Chuck Nelson field goal from 36 yards out. Missler. Giant first down inside the Ram 30. 8-yard gain.
John Missler is one of those guys that always seems to get open. He's Scott Bruner's favorite receiver. You watch Bruner there, he watches Missler all the way, just gets enough to pick up the first down. Like Missler was in a contest with Johnny Perkins for the starting position, and he beat out Perkins this year.
Mowat is the tight end on this side, and Mulledy now comes over and joins him. Ernest Gray is wide. There goes Mulledy in motion. Carpenter cut up behind his block very quickly. Carl Eckern broke it down.
One thing I'm surprised the Giants haven't tried to do is they were talking yesterday how good Zeke Mowat is at blocking that outside man, that linebacker, and they wanted to sweep more, get outside, and I'm surprised that they haven't tried to with Butch Wolfolk or Joe Morris.
Houston 10 now. Green Bay 7. Manning to Tim Smith puts the Oilers ahead. Rams showing blitz on second down, and the Giants pick it up pretty well momentarily before George Andrews gets around the outside and Bruner goes down.
That was one I think they picked it up pretty well, but the Rams just brought too many linebackers on them. They're a three-man line, and watch this. The two inside guys will come. We see them right here. They'll come to the same side. See to this right side? Plus the two outside guys. They picked up the inside guys. Now watch right from behind. Look out! Boom. That's the worst thing, that backside. You can't see that.
And all you can do is yell, look out. That's the end of the first quarter then, with the Los Angeles Rams leading the Giants 3-0 at Giant Stadium.
Chevrolet is taking charge. Light beer from Miller. Everything you've always wanted in a beer and less. And by the U.S. Army, a place to be all you can be.
Giant Stadium. Pat Summerall with John Madden. It's 3rd and 17 as we start the second quarter with the Rams leading 3-0. Billy Campfield's in the Giant backfield. Bruner drops the throw. Intended for Danny Pittman, incomplete. Right now for an NFL update, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Pat, here's one for John's chalkboard. Archie Manning in a shot. Let's go back to Pat and John.
Back in punt formation, Dave Jennings. His one punt today, 33 yards, no return. This one aiming for the corner. Bearcats signaled for by Henry Ellard. Inside the 10. As high as it was, I think he had the handle. Sometimes they think that's a mistake if you catch it inside the 10, but that time the Giants were down in good shape. Rams lead 3-0. U.S. Open Tennis Championships will come up right after this game is over. The number 1 seed, John McEnroe, against Vince Van Patten. I watched McEnroe play against John Sodry the other day, and I've never seen him look sharper. Of course, he loves that surface. Loves to play there, but he has lost to Vince Van Patten. First down Rams. Bergamo on first down. Had a man wide open. Preston Denard. The Giant defender
that he had that ball, but he also thought had he had that ball, he would have had a touchdown. Watch this, it's a zone, and Jackson will let him go and then come back underneath. Now watch that. There's Jackson. Oh, he just got his left hand up. You have to get both those hands up. See, he got both the hands on his head, but he didn't get both the hands on his ball.
Second and 10. Truman, the flanker to the right. Eric Dickerson, the lone setter. Pitch out, Dickerson. Dickerson cutting back to about the 8 or 9. Lawrence Taylor tripped him up.
I think that's the first play that we've seen Lawrence Taylor make today, and here we are in the second quarter.
That's unusual.
The Rams are doing a good job on him. Now, he'll go right side or left side. He's on the left defensive side this time. Takes on a blocker, comes in and makes a diving tackle.
Curtis McGriff comes out, and the pass rusher, George Martin, comes in. Miami Buffalo scoreless second quarter. Detroit got a safety when Jerry Goldstein was tackled in the end zone. Detroit leads them 2-0. Dickerson almost broke out of the pack, couldn't shake it, and the Rams will have to punt. Much to the delight of this sellout crowd, Giant defense is equal to the occasion. 78,000 plus on them.
You know, there's a guy in that Giant defense that does a heck of a job, and that's Bill Neal, the nose tackle. I always talk about the linebackers, but I'll tell you, he really plugs up that middle.
They missed him sorely last year. Misko back in the end zone to punt for the Rams, and he was really bombing them in pregame warm. Beasley Reese back deep for the Giants. And he has bombed this one, too. Somebody ought to be close by when Beasley makes the catch. Somebody was. 45-yard punt. Doug Barnett was the Ram who was down quickly. And give an assist to the kicker for this one. Boy, he hung it up there.
Beasley Reese caught that ball a little too close to his body. It darn near went right off his right shoulder pad.
But the Giants will take over. Opening seconds of quarter number 2. We're at Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Nearby Manhattan, Pat Summerall with John Madden. 3-0 Rams. Miami 3-0 over Buffalo. Uwe von Schumann, 32 out. Detroit 5-0. 29 yards by Ed Murray. Woolfolk put out wide to the right. Carpenter is the runner. Run down from behind by Andrews with an assist from Reggie Doss.
This is what the Giants have to do better. You know, in this game on first down, they're only averaging .5. Now, look what the Rams are doing on first down. They're 5.4, and that's a big, big difference. You know, when you have to play second and long and third long, it's a tough thing in this league today with all the situation substitution.
Second and 7. Giants from their own 48. Rams lead 3-0. Bruner back to throw. As Ernest Gray keeps his hand on the ground and helps him keep his balance, he goes out of bounds at the Rams 41. Nolan Cromwell knocked him out of bounds.
I think that was one of the things where the Ram defense is playing zone, and they drop deeper, seeing Gray is able to come underneath, and there's no linebacker out there until Nolan Cromwell, the safety, finally gets there. The linebackers all drop deeper than Ernest Gray did.
Ernest Gray is wide to the left this time. Carpenter, the lone runner, or lone setback, is Woolfolk is flanked to the right. Hand off Carpenter. Might go. Rob Carpenter stays on his feet, is finally knocked out of bounds at the 4 by Johnny Johnson. 37 yards. The Giants didn't have a run that long all of last year.
They didn't have one in preseason either. Their longest was 16 yards. Now watch this quickness here by Carpenter. He starts up the middle, finds a hole there, then darts to the outside, gets around the final corner, and then right up the sideline. I'll tell you, for a big guy, he sure has a lot of quickness and balance. Look at that balance.
First and goal, Giants. They go with 3 tight ends. They give to Carpenter. Carpenter will score. puts the ball up here.
That's just a little too soon, but it was short yardage, goal line. The Rams were all inside, packed him in. He started to the inside, bounced outside, and got that good old left-handed spike. Let's watch the blocking up here in front. Now, this is a long run. This is Carpenter's long one. You see, King just takes Youngblood to the outside. Good hole there in the middle. Good job by Benson. And then, of course, he gets a job right, a block by Woolfolk right out in front of him. And he gets a big run out of it.
The Giants, led by Rob Carpenter, who had 44 of the 55 yards on that drive, lead the Rams 6-3. Ali Haji Sheikh to kick off. Rams field it. Henry Ellard stays in the end zone.
Lolly kicked that one, but I'll tell you one thing. When you miss an extra point, somewhere in the game, it always seems to come back to haunt you.
Isn't it so?
Doesn't look like much now. The score is 6-3. But somewhere that point in this football game will loom big.
John, you hear so much about which down offensively is the most important. Whether it be first or third, what do you think?
I think it's first down. If you get good yardage on first down, you create easy situations for second and third.
Well, Ferragamo is trying for good yardage on first down and has David Hill maybe a foot shy of a first down, and maybe he does have it. Terry Jackson made the stop, and he is shaken up for a minute. Maybe he's just upset because the pass was complete.
Of course, that's something that they couldn't afford now because Terry Jackson is a right corner. The left corner, they're all pro Mark Haynes is out today.
And so is another All-Pro, Harry Carson, outstanding inside linebacker. Denver behind John Elway, although the touchdown was by Sammy Winder. They lead 7-0. Minnesota now 10-0. Dickerson. Beasley Reese up to stop him, but Dickerson leaned for about 3 or 4.
You know, one of the Ram players that isn't here today is Barry Redden, who was a Rams #1 draft choice 2 years ago. And he came down with an ulcer the day before they were going to leave. Now, Redden was going to alternate quite a bit today with Dickerson. John Robinson thought that Dickerson would really come through in the second half, but he's had to play more maybe in this first half than he anticipated.
It'll make it 2nd and 6 from the 34. Rams go with 2 tight ends. Hill and Barber. They throw outside. Pass intercepted by Mike Dennis. An outstanding effort by Mike Dennis. George Farmer, the intended receiver. The Giants will get the ball in good shape.
That's what we call an out and up. Now, Farmer, you see Ferragamo here. Farmer's going to run an out in front of Dennis. You see, and then he watches, and then Farmer turns up the field. Dennis stays underneath and makes the interception.
So the Giants will take over at the Ram 48. 10 minutes to go in the first half with the Giants leading 6-3.
Talk about a double zone. Now, what is a double zone? Here's Mike Dennis, the corner. He's going to come up and bump George Farmer right here. The safety's coming over deep. He has him deep. He has him short. After the bump, he'll stay right underneath. Farmer comes here and up. He stays underneath and makes the interception. Now, watch it. It's a double zone. We'll see Dennis come up. You see, he sneaks up. He gets his bump right there. Forces Farmer to the outside. Stays underneath him. The safety has him deep. And then he's able to make that interception. That's a double zone.
Ironic, you were just talking before, John, about the loss of Mark Haynes, and then his replacement, Dennis, comes up with the interception. Flea Flicker and Brunner going deep. Intended for Woolfolk. And the Rams were never fooled for 1 second. Leroy Irvin was the Ram defender back there.
Woolfolk run a lousy pattern on that. You know, as a receiver and you're running on a streak or an up, you just have to get Moyat got his block. There's a penalty on the play. It looks like it's going to be holding against the Giants. But the tight end did his job.
That's the rookie from Florida State, Zeke Moat. Some game they had, Florida State, last night. You see that score?
That was a lot of points. I couldn't believe it. One of those computer things to add it all up.
47-46. Florida State beat East Carolina.
That coach does a great job down there, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Offensive holding, number 72.
Gordon King, the culprit.
Let's watch Zeke Moat here. He's the tight end right there, and you see him blocking the linebacker. You see he gets on him, gets his head in there, keeps his feet going, drive, stay with him, get him to the outside.
Gordon King was holding Youngblood, and there was really no doubt about it. Second and 20. Mister in motion. Draw play Carpenter. Carpenter ran for about 10 or 11, and I mean he put the hammer on somebody. Nolan Cromwell, I think.
That's what you call finishing a run off. Now watch the tight end here at the right hand at the end of the screen. Again, he starts on the linebacker. Now look, he starts and turns his body to the side so that he can't get in. And zoom, there goes Rob Carpenter right by him. Rob Carpenter, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy named Rob. You don't believe he's 6'1", 230 pounds, but a good back finishes off a run.
He almost finished off Cromwell. Bruner under pressure. That may be a fumble. It is a fumble. Rams will take over.
And you see who caused it? That was big Gary Jeter, who the Giants traded to the Rams in the offseason.
Jack Youngblood again put the heat on. Along with Gary Jeter. Don't you know that makes Jeter very happy?
That makes the Giants feel. No, it doesn't make him feel very happy. This is a tough thing here. Now watch this. You see the motion, man? Him going back. Now watch. Right up the middle. And he just didn't have a chance. He was trying to get rid of the ball.
Never saw Jeter, I don't think. And Youngblood came up with the recovery. So the Rams will take over at the Giant 43, 8:58 left in the first half. 6-3 Giants. Number 1 seeded John McEnroe will play Vince Van Patten following football. Third round of the U.S. Open Tennis Championships of 1983. And they have been drawing record crowds this year. I was out yesterday and the day before and the day before. And we'll be back again tomorrow, the rest of the week. The finals next Sunday. Gary Jeter over on the sideline. David Hill was the man in motion. Eric Dickerson was shot by Bill Curry, Lawrence Taylor. Now let's go for an update to Brent Musburger in New York.
Had it third down for the Chicago Bears, and here is Jim McMahon pulling out. Now
6-3 Giants Rams. Eric Dickerson cuts inside and cuts ahead. Wow. Down to about the 22-yard line is Eric Dickerson, stopped by Mike Dennis. He picked up 24 yards.
And he broke his shoulder pad. You see that? He's pointing there. He's going to take him right there. You know, a string holds those shoulder pads, and sometimes when they get hit, that string just pops. But the big thing on this run, one back. Now watch this cut that he makes here, cut there. But the big thing is watch how he finishes off the run. Boom! He gets there, and he still makes 4 or 5 yards after the initial contact.
Robert Alexander has replaced him. David Hill in motion. Ferragamo to throw. Down the middle, complete to Mike Barber, the tight end. Barber fights down to about the 16. Gain of about 5. Brian Kelly made the stop.
Mike Barber, of course, was a great tight end with the Houston Oilers. After they got Dave Casper, they were able to trade him to the Rams. The Rams have always been looking for a tight end, and now they really have two in Mike Barber and David Hill. Two good veterans.
Make it 2nd and 4. The line of scrimmage to the 16-yard line. Dickerson is back. One back offense. Dickerson stays in this time. Ferragamo looking downfield. Has Mike Barber. Good catch. First down Rams. It'll be 1st and goal from about the 6-yard line of the Giants.
Mike Barber did one of those things on that play that Tom Landry was talking about Doug Crosby doing so well, uncovering. He ran a hook in the middle, he was covered, then he just moved out to the left, and he quickly became uncovered.
That's what happens when you get covered.
Become uncovered.
14-0. Raiders over Cincinnati. Marcus Allen has scored both touchdowns. Miami 6, Buffalo nothing. 2 field goals by Uwe von Sherman. From the 9, they say. Here's Dickerson to the 6. Near the 5, D. Hardison took him down to the artificial turf.
This is a very tough position to be. You're second down. I'm talking about the Rams on the 7-yard line. Really have 2 plays to get it in. Both of these downs now become passing downs.
12 times, Eric Dickerson has carried. He's picked up 50 yards. You consider this now to be long yardage, right?
I think this will be long yardage, yeah.
They give to Dickerson. He whirls down to about the maybe 2-yard line before he's knocked out of bounds. He can't accelerate. Beasley Reese put him out of bounds.
Maybe not if you have a guy named Eric Dickerson. It may not be long yardage. Let's watch it coming right at us here. We'll see Dickerson start to the inside to hold that defense, hold the linebackers, got outside of Van Pelt, put that shoulder down and get that 1 more yard. Now 3rd and 2, that's also long yardage.
Dickerson 13 carries now, 54 yards, 3rd and goal at the 2-yard line. Giants dig in, and so do the Rams.
They'll run a play pass here.
Ferragamo gives to Dickerson. They lost the football. Giants get it back. Ferragamo and Dickerson collided. Beasley Reese made the recovery.
A big play by the Giants. They were very alert. Again, with a guy like Dickerson, they're trying to hammer the ball in him. Now watch Ferragamo start to hand out. Either Dickerson came too tight to him, or Ferragamo went too tight to Dickerson because they run into each other. Let's watch it from the end zone. He starts, he fakes outside. See it, he hit him right on the hip.
He never recovered from the fake. Beasley Reese recovered the football. Giants 6, Rams 3, 5:27 left first half.
What happens here, you see Ferragamo is faking to number 24, A.J. Jones, and that takes him too wide. See, it takes him out there the fake. Now watch, right here, he bumps right into Dickerson, who never gets the ball. Beasley Reese does. Giants ball.
They take it over at their own 1-yard line. The half today, don't forget Brent Nerve and scores and highlights, and the story of Art Schleister with Charles Cicanti. U.S. Open Tennis highlights. Brunner gives on first down to Carpenter, who got back to the line of scrimmage. That's all. Now for an NFL Today report, let's go to Brent Musburger in New York.
Pat, here's how the Saints tied up the Cardinals. George Rogers on a brilliant run, got it down to the 9. Then it was Wayne Wilson, who earlier had dropped the touchdown pass, and now it's deadlocked at 7. Let's go back to Pat and John.
A lot of people picking New Orleans to win that division. Of course, the Rams very much disapprove of that pick. Second down. Bruner is going to throw out of the end zone. Does. Incomplete. Intended for Carpenter. The Rams had it well covered, however. Mel Owens was right there. Didn't move anybody.
That's a very dangerous thing, throwing out of your own end zone, because, of course, if there's anything, any tapped or bad or interception, it's an automatic touchdown. Plus, if you get a penalty in the end zone, that's a safety. That's 2 points for the other team. So if the offensive line in pass protection, if they hold, then that would be 2 points for the Rams.
Which would make it 6-5. Third down and 10. See what Bruner does now. Bill Parcells, who calls the play. Carpenter. He gets Dave Jennings a little bit of room and gets a Giant first down. Great run. Great run by Rob Carpenter.
Rob Carpenter was saying this week that the Giants need a leader on offense. I think they found one like to do is now get out beyond the 20, then work from the 20 to midfield, and then open everything up.
John Tuggle has replaced Carpenter. He's an interesting story.
It's an interesting story in that he was the last player drafted in the NFL draft.
They say he weighs 205, but he plays like 230. Brunner Missler, incomplete. Youngblood, the pressure. The coverage by Kurt Collins.
It's tough to throw in this situation. Watch, it's a play fake. He fakes to Woolfolk there. Now watch Jack Youngblood. Just as Brunner starts to throw, boom, right on his chest. I'll tell you, that's tough to throw when you got a white jersey with 85 hanging on you.
85 is playing an inspired game.
This is the most active I've seen Jack Youngblood in the last 3 or 4 years.
I agree with you. What if someone said anybody who could play a Super Bowl game with a broken leg got to be made of something? 3rd and 7 from the 17. Brunner back. Penalty marker down. Brunner stays in the pocket. Now comes out. Tried to get it out to Danny Pittman, but there has to be holding based on where that flag was.
Holding and holding on the Giants. Sure, the Rams will turn it down because that'll make it 4th down. Jack Youngblood just wants to hear about it anyway, but I'm sure he'll say no, make him punt.
Offensive holding, number 67, will be refused, and it will be 4th down.
So Jennings, who previously had to go for the corners and for position, now has a chance to let it out. Henry Ellard back deep for the Rams.
This will be interesting to watch the hang time because Dave Jennings can let this one out.
He lines this one, but he keeps it in the air a long time. All the way back to the 22, he chases Henry. Henry gets back to about the 37. Ellard brought down by Byron Hunt. Good punt by Jennings. So now we have 2 minutes and 54 seconds left to play at Giant Stadium in the first half. The Giants 6, the Rams 3. 6-3 Giants after a 61-yard punt and a 15-yard return. The Rams take over at their own 37. Well played, Dickerson. Jim Burt came in to make the stop.
Old Jim Burt, he's our buddy. He was in watching films with us yesterday. Last week he didn't play in the first half, so he made us watch the second half. Watch him. He's a nose tackle right over the center. Look, take on that guy. Keep that right foot planted. Hold him. Throw him off. Boom. Dive. Throw your body. Good play, Big Jim. Well, Jim's not big. He's a little short.
Very good play. Most important thing, I think you'd agree, John, is you don't give ground, and he didn't. Ferragamo, I think, a busted play. Carter still on his feet, down to the Giant 45, and more for Los Angeles first down, 17 yards. George Martin made the stop.
I tell you, Ferragamo is having a lot of success against this Giant defense, hitting that tight end in the middle. Seems to be a big hole in there.
And they have picked it up and worked on it. 2 minutes left to play in the first half with the Giants leading 6-3. At halftime, Brendan Irv will have scores and highlights. Also, Charles E. Canty will bring you up to date on the story of Art Schleister. That one may not be finished yet. And we'll preview this year's U.S. Open Tennis Championships. That's all coming up at the half. First down Rams at the Giants 45. They trail by 3. At this extra point, keep it in mind. Ferragamo back, good protection, going deep. Has Preston Denard. Preston Denard at the 10. Harry Jackson back there with him. It'll be 1st and goal
much of a cushion here on Denard. Now watch this. We'll see Denard running a corner pattern. You start in, and then you go back to the outside, and he has about 5 steps on Terry Jackson. In fact, he had to wait for the ball a little there. Had he not had to wait, that could have been a touchdown.
They cannot make a first down without scoring. So as I said, if you can call this first and goal, unfortunate. Here we are. Dickerson behind the block of David Hill got only a couple.
I'll tell you, Lawrence Taylor sure came down in there, knifing down in there. What happens is they brought the motion, and he led in the middle, and I think that just brought Lawrence Taylor right down that line.
That's a play we've seen used over and over. I think Pittsburgh started it, and then Dallas picked it up, and now everybody uses it, where the tight end comes down and blocks from the outside on a man over the middle. So they stop the clock, the Rams do, with a timeout. They have 2 left, 2nd and 8 from the 8.
The preceding message was furnished as a public service by the National Football League.
We're at sold-out Giant Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Across the Hudson from New York City. Pat Summerall with John Madden. You see the timeouts remaining. The Giants have all of theirs. The Rams just used 1. So they have 2 left, 1:10 left to play. Plenty of time with that many timeouts. It's 2nd and goal from the 8. With Hill in motion again. Ferragamo looking. Has Mike Barber. Mike Barber trying to get in and does. That last lunge. Terry Jackson was the man wrapped around Barber trying to keep him out. Barber just lunged with the ball and got in.
That's what I thought they would do earlier as a play pass. If we watch the play again here, we'll see that they've been running that motion, running Dickerson inside. So what they do here is they just fake it. Watch, we'll see the motion man come into the picture, fake it, Dickerson, and then the tight end, Barber, he blocks and then runs underneath all the way across the field, starts from the right and ends up catching the ball over on the left side. That last effort, just getting the ball across the goal line.
Chuck Nelson with Nolan Cromwell holding. Nelson is good. And the Rams go out in front now 10-6.
Let's watch that one again, Pat. We'll see the motion comes here. They fake the ball to Dickerson here. Now Barber is right here. He'll block like it's a run. Then he sneaks right underneath here and catches the ball right in this opening. Now watch this. See the motion will start. Hill goes in motion. And now they fake the ball in here to Dickerson. Now that holds the linebacker. See Barber block there? Now he lets the guy go. Now watch, as he comes underneath there, there's no one there except an official. That's a good play down there in the goal line. That's tough to defend.
Rams 63 yards. There's Mike Barber. 5 plays it took him. Barber's caught 4 passes for 38 yards, 1 touchdown. Ferragamo is 8 out of 11 for 103. 1 TD, 1 INT. That's the story of the drive.
We saw Chuck Nelson there. Of course, he got his first field goal. He has to feel good about that. But on Monday, he may not feel too good because there's word that Joe Danello, the ex-Giant kicker, is going to be in Los Angeles for a tryout in the Rams.
I don't know if Nelson knows that or not. High kick. Canfield at the 8. Bobbles momentarily. Got some room. Billy Canfield. Knocked out of bounds. Penalty marker down. Knocked out of bounds at the 40 by Kurt Collins. Or Leroy Irvin. Both were there. has his team ahead in his NFL coaching debut. What a nice man.
He really is, and he was sure excited last night. You know, he loves the game. That's a big thing, the game, the arena. Opening day is always a big day.
Great pass to Carpenter. Look out if he gets loose in the secondary. The Rams know that, of course. To Jim Collins. Carl Eckern converts. John Robinson, of course, announced his retirement at the end of last year as the head coach of USC. The Giants take a timeout. And I guess you know probably better than anybody why he didn't stay retired.
It was one of those things that sound good at the time, and John found out that he just couldn't live without it. And the way it happened is at the end of the season, he went to a Raider game, and he was on the sidelines with the coaches and the players. He said just being in that stadium and getting the feeling of being there and not being a part of it, he just knew he had to have it.
John, do you think, I'd been told that he had been approached by other professional teams in previous years, maybe even after he retired. Do you think he would have gone anywhere else except the Rams?
I don't think so, not at this time. Had the Ram opportunity not come up at that time, I think he would have stayed out at least a year, and then maybe next year he would have gone somewhere else.
2 timeouts remaining for both teams now. It's funny, I was talking to him before the game. You'd figure his debut and he'd be all uptight and upset about things. And he was asking me more about tennis than we were talking about football.
You know, yesterday we were talking in his room, and I was sitting with my back to the television set, and he was looking over my shoulder, and I said, hey, you're not paying any attention. He was looking over my shoulder and watching you guys on tennis. I said, you shouldn't be worrying about those backhands and stuff. You ought to be worrying about that 3-man line you're playing, man.
2nd and 5 from the 15.
Youngblood today is giving Gordon King all that he can handle. Bruner could have been a little shaken up on that play back because, again, he got hit just as he threw the ball. And he got hit low. It was one of those kind of bend your legs up underneath.
And he's got a lot low because he's 6'5", a big target back there.
A lot of low.
Bruner drops and tries again. Out of bounds, about a yard short of the first down. Kirk Collins. They would have liked to have that first down.
Well, of course, he needs about 3 more first downs in order to get into field goal range now. He has to hit about 3 15-yarders in a row, and maybe Ali Haji Sheikh would have another chance at it.
There is Ali Haji Sheikh, the rookie.
I asked him yesterday, what do they call you for short, Al or something? He said, no, just Ali or the Sheikh.
The Sheikh is what. Wolford. Fumble. Rams got it. Wolford had it stripped away. Let's see who made the recovery. Had to be somebody out of the secondary, the way it bounced ahead. Johnny Johnson is the man who got it.
That's what drives the head coach crazy. Those are the things you can't coach, you can't plan on, and you just watch that. They're just probably trying to run out the clock here, maybe trying to break something or pop something. You watch Butch Wolford, he was swinging that ball. That's what it was. That thing has to be in tight to your side when you go through the line.
Anytime, but especially at a time like this.
Especially when there's a lot of white jerseys around. You can't be swinging that ball back and forth.
27 seconds left to play. Rams have 2 timeouts remaining, so they got some time to do some business. Ferragamo out of the pocket. Almost a spectacular catch by George Farmer. Ferragamo was under pressure. Didn't quite put the zip on the ball he might have.
Because Farmer did have Mike Dennis beat on that one. Again, both of these giant corners are playing too deep, and I think they can hit those outs and comebacks all day in front of them. They should come right back and do the same thing again. Or the Giants should tighten up a little. Go that double zone again and get up there and have Dennis get up there and bump the way they got the interception.
Basically in a situation like this when you know they got to throw. to Farmer. They came right back with it, like you said.
And I think they ought to take a timeout and do the same thing again. Come right back again, because those giant corners, again, are just playing too far up.
They took the timeout.
Let's see if we can see that on the chalkboard here. Now, see the giant corners? They're off, both of them. So there's room here where a receiver can come up and run it out, or come up and run it out here. Because they start, and there's no underneath help or help in this area here. Now, watch it. I made a mess on that one, but watch how far the corner Mike Dennis is. Now, as Farmer comes off, he goes deeper. Now, look at that big gap there. Now, just come to the outside and look at the area, the room in there. See, they could throw that thing in front of those corners all day. That was 2 plays ago, but it was the same thing that they hit.
Should have been an artist, you know that?
Yeah, I like that.
Toulouse Madden, how would that sound?
Yeah, that's embarrassing. You know, my 3rd grade art teacher, she sees that. She said, I knew that guy couldn't learn that stuff.
First down, the Rams now are down to 1 timeout. 12 seconds left on the clock. Score is Rams 10, Giants 6.
She always thought I should have paid more attention to art, less attention to recess and lunch.
You paid attention to Art when he was playing for you. Art Shell.
But I still pay a lot of attention to lunch.
Eric Dickerson is the deep back. They're up again at 27. Here comes an all-out blitz. Denard going deep. Intercepted by Terry Jackson. No penalty marker. There's the penalty marker. Well, that may be just Denard's towel that he had in his pocket. Preston is hurt. Let's see what the call is.
Well, the official did throw that flag back, but it was late. It was a late flag.
Way late. That is a flag. And Denard is hurt, and the Rams can't afford that.
When he was grabbing, it was out of Achilles tendon.
Yeah. I think Jackson fell right on the back of his leg.
It was a great interception by Jackson. What's that? You see, he falls right there, catches the ball. I think he fell across Denard's leg, and then Lawrence Taylor hit him over the top. But I think it was Terry Jackson falling across his ankle after the interception.
Momentum at this spot, the defensive team will take over. However, there was an unsportsmanlike conduct after the interception, which will be half the distance.
What they did is they said that the interception was legal. Now watch Terry Jackson here. That was a one-handed interception. He said that momentum didn't take him into the end zone. Lawrence Taylor coming over the top and hitting Denard was the penalty. The penalty after the interception.
And that hit by Lawrence Taylor is what hurt Preston Denard.
Just knocked him right back over. Okay?
That artificial turf doesn't give a lot. Reggie Doss assisting Preston. They don't have much depth at wide receiver.
Now Jackson came up and he was playing tight there on Denard. He was running step for step, and that was a heck of an interception. He put his left hand in there, caught it with one hand, and there's Lawrence Taylor in the penalty.
6 seconds left to play in the first half. Preston Denard is in severe pain.
Of course, the Giants, it's a big play here. They just want to get the ball out of that end zone.
And hold on to it. And that'll run out the clock for the first half with the score. The Rams 10, the Giants 6. Preston Denard in obvious pain being driven off the field, or will be in just a moment. Now he is. The Rams had some chances. Bill Parcells heading for the locker room. They capitalized a couple of times to lead 10-6. Giants scored the touchdown. Great effort by Rob Carpenter. They missed the extra point. It's 10-6 at the half.
Sponsored by Toyota, who remind remind you that it's a good feeling to buckle up for safety. The over 1,200 Midas Muffler and Brake Shops. And by Gillette Right Guard Solid with the action-triggered formula. Is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Sears, Roebuck and Company for quality merchandise coast to coast. It's Sears. And by the twin-action Norelco Rototrack Razor.
The Rams 10, the Giants 6 at Giant Stadium. Pat Summerall with John Madden. Ali Haji Sheikh. Almost couldn't get all that on his jersey. Henry Ellard, who it would appear will replace Preston Denard, wide receiver. We still don't have any word on how serious the injury to Denard is. But Sheikh puts him deep. One of the reasons that he's here instead of Joe Danella. 4 yards deep into the end zone. Look at the halftime stats now. First downs, 9 apiece. Yards rushing. Most of it by Carpenter for the Giants to give them the edge. Total yards, the Rams have the edge, but the biggest stat is the next one.
I think the turnovers, and I think, the first game of the season, the first half was a little sloppy in that they had 5 turnovers.
First down, Rams. Ellard is one of the wide receivers, Farmer's the other. Ferragamo goes to work on first down. Mike Gooman hit out of bounds and really tagged by Lawrence Taylor.
I think Gooman just learned a little lesson there, Pat, that when you get close to that sideline, don't relax. Especially when there's a guy like Lawrence Taylor roaming the field. Gooman's looking back. Anyone get the license on that truck that just hit me?
Check that number. Yeah, the turnovers and their results.
It's like they just have a miscue and then miscue it right back to the team that miscued it to them.
9 yards on that hookup between Gooman and Ferragamo. Go for the first down with Eric Dickerson, who skips out of one man's hands, can't do the other. Mike Dennis came up with a piece of Dickerson's uniform. Brad Van Pelt finally made the tackle along with help from Brian Kelly.
Brad Van Pelt's the guy that makes a play. If you're going to stop a guy like Eric Dickerson, you have to stop him in the backfield before he gets started. Now watch right here, right there. You see Van Pelt got penetration, and he stopped Dickerson from going forward and made him redirect and go laterally again.
Almost every year in all pros. 3rd and 4. Ferragamo will go through the air. Takes away from one tackler. Throws a low liner. 2-0. George Farmer, the intended receiver. John Misko heads onto the field now. Ferragamo comes off. Beasley Reese back deep for the Giants. Misko keeps the ball in the air a long time. Or did the first time, the only punt they had, 45 yards.
See if we can get the hang time on him this time. There it is.
Got it. Giants put the pressure on Misko, and they put too much pressure on Misko. Forget about the hang time. They're going to be called for roughing the kicker. Misko might be shaken just a little bit. Flowers upset the Giants. But there's no question about the fact that they did run into him. He is hurt.
Of course, that's an automatic first down. Now, the Giants were coming on a block here. They were bringing the whole front. It wasn't a return. So they were rushing. Someone goes flying through the air. I guess that's Flowers. Right? It was Flowers. And he hit Misko after he punted the ball. Once that ball leaves the punter's foot, you can't touch it. They have 2 penalties. One is a 5-yard penalty.
Personal foul. Number 37 on the defense running into the kicker. First down.
Let's watch it from this angle, and we'll see the kicker intentionally, and that's a 15-yard penalty. This one where they run into him unintentionally, 5 yards, first down.
Chuck Nelson would be the Ram punter. He is also the place kicker. Misko is walking around trying to shake it off. First down Ram. Eric Dickerson cuts back and wow. Dickerson to midfield, but a penalty flag has been thrown back at about the 30-yard line. They'll bring it back.
Be one of those holding penalties against the Rams. You see, Dickerson, though, John Robinson was telling us the best thing about Dickerson is he sees so well, his vision. And that's what he did that time. Square to the line of scrimmage, saw that hole in the big opening, and just popped right through it.
Offensive holding, number 56.
That was the center. Doug Smith held on that play. But watch Dickerson right here. See, he's starting out to the left. But look at the vision. He sees a hole right there and cuts right in off Doug Smith's block, which turned out to be a hole. But he really does have vision. You know, the great backs are all able, as they make that turn and they get square, to see the whole field.
First and 20. Back at the 21 now. David Hill comes in motion. Ferragamo steps up, throws down on the middle field. Henry Ellard comes up with a reception, and Ferragamo and Ellard hook up, gets it all back. Mike Dennis made the stop. 34-yard pickup.
I think that's one of those things that the Rams didn't mean, but it's okay. Barber was in front of Ellard. He thought he had the ball. Pretty good pass protection. We see Ferragamo there. He's throwing to Ellard. See, Barber was there, thought he was supposed to catch the ball. He was doing a hook in the middle. Ellard ran an in behind him.
They got more yardage, but both of them were open.
Man, Ellard's faster, though. You always throw the guy who's a little deeper and a lot faster.
Ellard is out. Two tight ends. Set up. Dickerson tried to cut back inside, tripped up after a couple. Spun his wheels a little bit.
You know, Eric Dickerson, when he came out to practice yesterday, he stepped on this field and he said, "I love this field. What a great field it is to run." And John Robinson said, "Well, that's one of those good news, bad news." He said, "I'm glad you're happy, but doggone it, we play on grass fields a lot this year. What are you going to feel like in November and December? Can we get you out of the locker room?"
Second and 7. Ball to the Giant 42, 12:21 left to play in the third quarter. Hill started in motion. Ferragamo with a lot of time. Has Barber. He'll have a touchdown. No penalty flags this time. Brad Van Pelt trying to cover Mike Barber.
I think that was another example of an uncover in there. He looked like Barber was covered in the middle. It was against a double zone, so the tight end has to be covered by a linebacker. Let's see if we can watch it here from the end zone. We'll see they start off with a little play fake to Dickerson, try and hold those linebackers. Barber's in here. It looks like he was running the hook, and then he had Van Pelt on him. He just turned and ran. There's no safety in there because they have rotated to the outside in that double coverage.
Chuck Nelson with Nolan Cromwell holding will try to add the extra point. Rams 16, Giants 6. Nelson kicks it into the crowd. Would not have been any good if nobody had touched it. Byron Hunt batted it down, but it never got airborne.
Well, that evens out those missed conversions then, doesn't it? One for each side.
16-6. Rams lead the Giants by 10. Giant Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Pat Summerall and John Madden. There's the scoring drive. 42-yard pass from Ferragamo to Barber. Extra point missed. Nelson, who missed the extra point, will just kick off now. Billy Canfield back deep for the Giants. Good kick from Nelson. Canfield at the 2. To the 24.
See if we can watch that touchdown again. Now, here's the tight end right here. Here's Van Pelt, who is on a man-to-man. Now, he holds him up here. The safeties come out. Now, the problem with that is once this tight end gets by the linebacker, then he has the whole field in the middle. Now, watch the action right there. We'll see the motion come. Now, right there, you see Van Pelt. He's on him, he's holding him. And now Barber runs away, but because it's a double coverage, there's no safety in the middle.
First down, Bruner throws his tight end. Mulledy, the intended receiver. Bruner threw it a little too hard. Carl Eckern, the defender. The word on Preston Denard is that he has a sprained ankle and will not return. So, Ellard and Farmer. Phil Simms had been a regular, lost the job to Bruner, keeping the ball warm. 2nd and 10 from the 25. Hand off Carpenter. Nope. Mel Owens. See what's happening to Miami and Buffalo. A lot of field goals on one side, 3 by Uwe von Schumann. And the Dolphins lead Buffalo 9-0. Minnesota 17, Cleveland 14. Sipe just hit Mike Pruitt to bring Cleveland closer. It's 3rd and 8 here. Carpenter, the one back. 3 receivers, including Mulledy to the left. Speed? Yes, sir. Danny Pittman. To the Ram 33, Kurt Collins. To the Ram defender. Good throw from Bruner.
Good throw, and Bruner picked out the right guy. He had man-to-man out there on his right side. Pretty good pass protection. You see King right there. He collapsed Jack Youngblood. Throws the ball one-on-one on Kurt Collins right up over the inside shoulder. Perfect throw. Good pass protection. Not a bad catch.
First down as a result. Ram 33. 16-6 Los Angeles lead. Missler in motion. Pitches back to Butch Wolfbrook. Wolfbrook got to the 30. Ram pursuit is more than adequate, led by George Andrews.
That was a pretty good form tackle. He just hooked on right around there and kept it. Now watch the pursuit here. It's tough to cut back when you have good pursuit. Now what? See, he has a force up there. Now right there as he cuts back, there's Andrews. That's what you try and get. The onside to come up, make him cut back, then the offside of the defense coming across and taking care of the cutback.
Myron Lapka is now the nose tackle in that Ram setup. That 3-4 that they're using for the first time. Bruner. Mulledy never turned around in time. He was the intended receiver, but Lapka put the heat on Bruner.
One of those things about Bruner, you know, Bill Parcells was talking about quarterback inefficiency, and he said that's number of sacks or number of interceptions you have, and he said that Bruner is so good at that. Last year he threw 165 passes without an interception or a sack, and that's one of the reasons. His guys are covered, he just threw that one away.
Tell you what, the Rams have gotten a pretty good pass rush all day long from that 3-man front. Now they put in Jeter and have 4 down linemen.
Look how wide Youngblood gets on that.
Quick count. Carpenter cuts back. And he leans forward for about 4. Not a very popular call with the fans. Mel Owens led the defense for the Rams. And now we'll see Ali Haji Sheikh. Rookie from Michigan.
You know, he was born in Michigan. I asked him yesterday if he's ever been out of the country. He said, yeah, I was in Canada once.
Well, Bob Stenner, our producer, asked him before the game, what does that mean? Ali Haji Sheikh, and he said it doesn't mean anything. It's my name.
Name's supposed to mean something.
45 yards out for Ali Haji Sheikh, and he is wide right. Ali may lose some of his harem if he keeps missing. 16-6. Rams lead the Giants with 9:01 left, third quarter. 10. Ken Stabler was injured, by the way. Don't know if he's still playing or if he came back or not. It'll be 2nd and 7.
They have to be disappointed in Cincinnati. They haven't won a game all year.
Really?
0-4 in the preseason.
Yeah. Everybody thought they were loaded, including us. Side. Eller. Still on his feet is Eller. And you talked about exhibiting a little quickness.
I'll tell you, he didn't. He didn't have his block. You know, that was one of those screen passes. His left guard, Ken Hill, was supposed to be out there, but he didn't get out in time, so he was all on his own. It was like an island out here. Watch the fake pass. Now the guard is pulling out. You see Hill, but he doesn't get there until it's too late. But Ellert still makes a move here, boom, a move here, and here comes Lawrence Taylor flying across the field.
Ellert only weighs 170. He's a rookie from Fresno State. That was a pretty good effort right there.
I think he's going to be a good one.
First down, Rams. Ferragamo going to work. Going to work deep. Incomplete. Intended for Farmer. The Giants, Mike Dennis, led the coverage, and the coverage was good.
Well, that was one of those double zone things where he was playing underneath, and the safety came across. I think that was Courier who really made a nice job on that. He covered a lot of ground while that ball was in the air.
Atlanta 13, Chicago 10, third quarter. Green Bay 28 now. Houston 17. Here it's 2nd and 10. The ball at the 42. 8:11 left to play third quarter. Hill in the game. 2 tight ends. Hand off Dickerson. Dickerson near a first down. Hanging onto the football. Beasley Reese. Lawrence thinks somebody held him.
I think he did, and I think he's probably right because there's a flag out there. Let's see what happened to Taylor on that flag. But he's going to be blitzing. He comes from the outside.
That's David Hill.
You just get him diving right there at the end. Someone was holding his foot. It was David Hill holding his foot.
Offensive holding, number 56.
Well,
2nd down.
56 is Smith, of course, the offensive center.
That's the 2nd or 3rd time that they've had Doug Smith. Let's watch that. You know, centers are getting, watch that left hand. Goes right up there and grabs, goes up and grabs again, and by the time Dickerson gets through there, it's off. We're seeing more and more of those centers holding now with the 3-man line and the nose tackle on their head.
2nd and 20, and think about the yardage that Dickerson's had it wiped out by penalty. Taylor on the blitz. And they call a penalty against Taylor. He can't believe it.
That's going to be roughing the passer, I'm sure. Vince Ferragamo's helping up Lawrence Taylor after he roughed him. That was another one of those screen passes where the back that he wanted to throw to didn't get out there. Let's watch it. Now, there's a couple rules here. Once the quarterback throws the ball, he can't be touched. Once he becomes runner,
Arresting the passer, number 56. To the face of the passer.
that's what they got him for, Pat. They got him for going to the face, and you know that's a big thing in the NFL now.
Watch his reaction.
Back foot.
Penalties are serious. Farmer in motion. Dickerson almost lost the ball going into the pile. Brad Van Pelt led the defense. Lawrence Taylor over on the sideline, very distraught, holding his head.
I think Bill Parcells was just giving him a play to cool off and tell him to get back in there. That he just wanted him to get that one out of his system.
You know, he might be one of those guys, and I think he is, like you were telling me about Ted Hendricks, who played for you. You don't want to get him stirred up.
No, you don't want to. You want to leave some of those guys lie a little while.
2nd down and 11 from the 47. Ferragamo will have to put it up. He gives to Dickerson. Not much. Midfield. Byron Hunt, who replaced Lawrence Taylor, made the stop. Dickerson is getting a workout.
blitz and you're one-on-one, you're one-on-one all over the field with no help inside, outside, or underneath.
We'll check out the hang time. Misko shook off the shakeup that he had. See if they try to put the pressure on him again. Beasley Reese back deep for the Giants. They don't put the pressure on him this time. And he does hang it up there a long time. He hung it out of bounds, unfortunately. See what happened to Dickerson. Taking his shoe off. Too early to call. 16-6, Rams lead the Giants. Eric Dickerson, the numbers on him, 20 for 61 yards. They've been checking his toe.
You know, that's a new injury since artificial turf. They call that an artificial toe turf toe. A lot of T's in there. But what happens is the foot gets caught and the toe jams up inside the shoe.
The traction is so good with the shoes and the turf combination, that's what happens. Joe Morris is the ball carrier, I believe, this time, and Morris struggles and fights, and the Rams swarm on it, led by Jack Youngblood. Youngblood is one of those guys who gets dirty on artificial turf.
I don't know how, unless he brings the dirt from home with him in his pickup truck, and he's that type of guy. You know, the pickup truck?
Yeah.
The gun on the back.
Yeah, the rack back there.
Yeah, the rack, the chewing tobacco.
Yeah. Spotlight outside the driver's window.
Good old boy says yip a lot.
Second and 11. Ferragamo on a semi-rollout. Incomplete. Mistler was the receiver. He caught the ball, but he was out of bounds. Scott Bruner took a pretty good hit.
They're still working on that artificial turf toe. Eric Dickerson's, it looks like they're going to tape it and give it a little support, but those things tend to linger. Remember last year, I think Billy Sims had one of those and even missed a few games with it. So that's something you never think you need much, is that big toe, you know, and how you get it stubbed or hurt and it kind of hangs around a little.
I remember needing it as a kicker.
Well, yeah, kickers.
Third down, 11. Youngblood pushes Gordon King back into the backfield, but Bruner gets it out to Carpenter, and he'll be just a little bit shy of the first down. George Andrews stopped Carpenter.
I think there's another reason that Scott Bruner doesn't take a lot of sacks is because he's big enough, tall enough to see, and strong enough to hang in there with defensive ends darn near on both shoulders that time and still get the ball off.
One of the things I think they feel that gives Bruner an advantage is the fact that his father was a coach and is a coach.
That's what Bill Parcells says, and he understands the business of football, not just the playing and the game, but the whole business of professional football.
Jennings didn't get it. Henry Eller had some room. Eller hit down hard by Mike Whittington. 33-yard punt. 4-yard return. It hasn't been one of Jennings' better days. So we have 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to play in the third period at Giant Stadium, with the Rams still enjoying a 10-point advantage. Just to run down some scores while we have a second. Pittsburgh 10, Denver 7. Franco Harris got the Steeler touchdown. He's moving up on the all-time list. New Orleans 21, St. Louis 10. Of course, Dallas will be at St. Louis next week, and that'll be our big game. Detroit 8, Tampa Bay nothing after the Bucs scored all those points preseason. New England leading Baltimore 16-13. And Minnesota 24, Cleveland 14. Here at Giant Stadium, it's the Rams 16, the Giants 6. Alexander is still the runner. He gets the call, and maybe a couple, possibly three. One more score. Chicago Bears have recaptured the lead, and they lead the Falcons 17-13. That's in the third quarter. Alexander, number 31, replaced Eric Dickerson. He's from West Virginia, a second-year man. not as big as Dickerson. 6 feet, 185. Second and 8. Barber. Ram first down. Giant territory. Knocked out of bounds by Mike Dennis. Big day for Mike Barber.
It's been a big day for the Ram tight ends. Barber must have about 4 catches now, and Hill has 2. He has 6 receptions for 89 yards, and Hill has 2. So that's 8 of the receptions have been to the tight ends today for the Rams.
And both teams have been doing something that we felt, particularly John Madden felt, would be somewhat of a new trend, and that is throwing a lot on first down. The Giant 44. Alexander. Couple. D. Hardison hit him first.
You notice how much a great running back can help an offensive line. It seems when Dickerson was in there that the line was firing off the line a little more. They were staying with their blocks, getting blocked. Dickerson comes to the sideline. Alexander's in there. And they don't seem to be getting those holes in there anymore that Dickerson had. Or maybe great backs create their own holes. I don't know.
I think they make it easier for the offensive lineman.
I think they kind of excite the offensive lineman, too. When you know there's a guy like Dickerson or an O.J. or a Jim Brown or someone back there, maybe you tend to work a little harder.
Alexander straight ahead. 3 shy of a first down. Dickerson walking around now. They put some tape on that front part of his foot right behind the big toe. Still limping a little bit.
Well, when they put their helmet on, that's a pretty good sign. You know, that means that they're about ready to go in again. When you see them standing on the sideline with a baseball cap, they aren't going anywhere to play.
Green Bay 31, Houston 17. Let's see. The Rams have a little misunderstanding of the huddle, so it's timeout Los Angeles. That'll mean they have 2 left. It's 3rd and 3 as Ferragamo comes to the side. We have 2:46 left. Third quarter with the Rams leading the Giants by 10 points. Eric Dickerson. Now it would appear that they're taking tape off that they put on, retaping the whole thing.
Yeah, they are. They're taking the whole ankle tape job off, and maybe they're going to start underneath his foot to give it some support there. He tried to run and then went back to the table.
Third. Ball of the Giants, 38. Giants on a blitz, and they work. George Martin put the heavy pressure on Ferragamo. Misko comes in, no field goal try from the end zone.
He was trying to wait there for George Farmer. He had George Farmer open off to his right. We see right here, see George Martin's coming in, and he couldn't wait any longer for Martin, so he just had to throw the ball. I mean, for George Farmer.
George Martin was the one.
Martin was there. He couldn't wait for Martin to get to him, so he threw the ball to Farmer before he was ready.
Misko from midfield.
about. They looked pretty good early, and they had that Carpenter running and hitting a few things. And, sometimes that happens in that first league game. You play the preseason, and you play your guys a quarter here and a quarter there, and you have different quarterbacks playing and starting. And then the season opens, you have to put them all together one time for the entire game.
Mulledy in motion. They give to Carpenter again. He cuts back inside and gets the first down. Breaks tackle. Gets to the 38. Carl Eckern and Johnny Johnson finally cut him down. Carpenter goes over 100 yards. 15 carries, 105.
That was some of the things we were talking about. The cutback, the vision. Carpenter comes up to the line, sees vision, sees that cutback there. And then the Ram defense really didn't pursue it. Now watch Carpenter here. He starts here. Watch the vision all the way back there. He sees that. He didn't have anyone coming, collapsing that backside on him.
Bruno throwing first down. Looking right, now left. Ernest Gray can't quite hang on. A penalty marker is down.
And that looks like that'll go against the frustrated Giants. I'm sure it is. It's a holding penalty. It's one of those things, you finally get a little running, you finally get a first down, and boom, there's that flag on first down, that holding penalty. Those things will kill you.
Rams using Gary Jeter now full-time in the defensive line.
Offensive holding, number 67.
See it in the right part of the picture, number 67 there, that's the left guard, Billy Ard. Look, he has that right hand right outside, that whole hand and arm outside the pass rusher, Gary Jeter.
First and 20, Bruner, draw play Carpenter. Jack Youngblood did a good job of picking up draw.
There's Gary Jeter. He fills out that old 77 pretty well, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Of course, with the Giants, he was number 70. Their number 2 draft choice, Leonard Marshall, has that number now.
Second down and about 15, 16 maybe. Bruner looking down the middle. Ernest Gray got it. It'll be enough for a first down. Kirk Collins on the cover.
Let's watch Ernest Gray here. Now that's a zone. You see the linebacker flies out to zone. The corner's deep. Gray comes in, finds a hole in front of the defensive back and between the 2 linebackers. Works back to the quarterback.
So that's the end of the third quarter with the score of the Rams 16, the Giants 6, and we now pause for a word from your local station.
Miller Highlight. Welcome to Miller Time. Valvoline. Valvoline is everything you need in a motor oil. And by Delta Faucet. When they're on, they're on. When they're off, they're off.
One more quarter to go at Giant Stadium. That's Preston Denard on the sideline on crutches. Sprained his ankle. No more information as to how serious it might be. When you come back on crutches, Ernest Gray juggles, cuts back inside, back to the outside, gets out of bounds. That'll stop the clock. And all that juking and jugging got about enough yardage for a first down. Leroy Irvin on the stop.
That was pretty smart, though. You see what he did, watch this. He catches a little short pass. Now, once he starts in there, he sees all those white jerseys and says, well, I don't want to go in there. Let me go back where there's no guys. He got out of bounds. That's smart. That's that old psychology test where if the rat goes in and if he turns left, he gets the cheese. If he turns right, they hit him over the head with something. Then they go in and they keep going to cheese. So they started to see all those jerseys. They run to the sideline.
Ernest Gray saw some cheese out of bounds. Missler, motion man, started, stopped. Carpenter booms down for a first down. George Andrews made the tackle. Baltimore 20, New England 16. Minnesota 27, Cleveland 14. First down, Giants.
I'll tell you, if the Giants are going to make a game out of it, they need a score right here. Now, they need a combination of a touchdown
will be Dallas against St. Louis. It begins with the NFL today, and in the course of that program, Phyllis George will speak and talk with Terry Bradshaw about his future as an NFL player. Robert Alexander still the running back. He swings to the outside. Alexander, a Ram first down. Some breathing room for them before Beasley Reese gets into the artificial turf.
Yeah, that's where the Giant defense let down on that play, because when you get a kick like that, you get them backed up. Again, you have to press them and stop them. That was a big play by the Rams, because now they get out to the 20 where they can go to work again. And when you get them backed up, when you get them down, you got to press them. You got to pancake them, keep them there.
Farmer comes out wide to the right. Eller wide to the left. Two tight ends. Alexander, the lone running back. Alexander in the grasp of Brad Van Pelt. Now for our NFL Today report, let us take you to Brent Musburger in our studios in New York.
At Atlanta, Steve Bartkowski.
All right, Brent, thank you. It's 16-6. Rams over the Giants with 11:30 left to play in the game. 2nd and 7. Alexander got 3. In motion, Ferragamo under pressure. Eller got it. What a catch by him. Boy, they think he's going to be a good one. They're right.
He's starting out that way today. He was man-to-man on Terry Jackson, running step for step, and then right at the end, he just lunged out. Watch the end of that. Here's Terry Jackson, 24. He should have gotten a bump there. You see, he let Ellard get by him. Ellard's just running, watch the bump. Watch right at the end how he extends his body and makes that hook. That's a great catch. That's a pretty good throw, too.
Sometimes I think the word great is overused, but not in that case. Ellard's caught 3 for 91 yards.
He was a Rams second-round draft choice this year, and he was late coming to camp because he hadn't agreed to a contract, and John Robinson says he'll develop as the season goes.
With their extra tight end setup, that's Dickerson back in the game.
I think he got that new tape job on, and it looked like what they were trying to do is give him some support underneath that toe. That's one of those things that could linger with him. You know, it feels all right now.
To a back who cuts so well and sees so well as he does, that could really hurt him. See Hardison checking out, limping a little bit. 2nd down and 9, they call it. 8, we call it. Ferragamo looking for more. David Hill. David puts his head down, bounces close to first down yardage before Phil Courier made the stop. He has first down.
You know, I said when the Giants had the ball, I felt if they were going to be in this game, that they had a score on that last possession. And when they didn't, and they didn't hold them down there, they really let the Rams off the hook. And the Rams are doing it with some good offense, good mixture, running inside, outside, good passing, deep to the outside, hit the tight end inside. That's one thing they are doing, is moving the ball around well.
Ferragamo is now 16 out of 25 for 275 yards. So he's off to a good start. Hill was high in motion. Pitches back to Dickerson. Dickerson was hit by Lawrence Taylor first, and then Joe McLaughlin tripped him up. Dickerson doesn't look quite comfortable now. Not as he did in the beginning.
No, he's not making those quick moves anymore. But again, Lawrence Taylor had something to do with that by getting penetration. He penetrated about 5 yards, and he got Dickerson again before he really could get on track.
It'll be 2nd down and 13 as Dickerson lost 3. Ferragamo will probably have to go back to the air.
Maybe Mark Haynes was going to play the left corner. They made their game plan up to do that, and now Mike Dennis is playing that other corner, and they really left him alone for most of the day.
Maybe it has to do with personnel and who's on that side. It was tight end Mike Barber. Not enough for a first down inside the 25 to about the 28. Brad Van Pelt made the stop. And Chuck Nelson strides on. Somebody was saying earlier who had watched him kick, saying, I think he takes too many short steps.
Well, yesterday in practice, I know he was taking a lot of little, quick, nervous type steps.
They have the same.
Finally, John Robinson had to tell him to get off the field. He was trying him from about 70 yards. I said, he's going to leave his leg here on Saturday.
This will be from 40 yards. He's 1 for 1 already. Hit the upright. No good.
You hear one of the Giant players was yelling, no good, before it hit that upright. He knew right when it left his foot.
So the lead stays 16-6. Saw John Robinson. 12-0 Miami over Buffalo. Raiders 20, Cincinnati 3. Atlanta 20, Chicago 17. Green Bay 31, Houston 24. All those games in the fourth quarter, as is this one. First and 10 Giants from their own 23. They're going to have to throw just about every play. Bruner has time for a change. And Missler comes down with it. Carl Eckern almost picked it off, and then Missler came down with it. I've been impressed, John, with the work of the front three and the linebackers for the Rams.
Right, they have really done a good job, and they got a lot more pass rush from that three-man line than they thought they were going to. And I'll tell you one thing about this year's Ram team. They're much more active than they were last year.
They were embarrassed about last year. There's the penalty marker down. Youngblood went by, had a chance for a sack. Almost had Scott Bruner. Bruner shook him off. Butch Woolfolk caught the pass. Penalty against the Giants. Youngblood almost had Bruner. Here's Jack. Playing like he's a two-year man.
And maybe that's why they're doing so much holding. You know, that's the 6th time that the Giants have been called for holding today.
Offensive holding, number 68.
That's a right guard, J.T. Turner, on that one. They've been moving it up and down the line of scrimmage. They've had King, they have Turner, they've had Billy Yard.
Rams have been keeping fresh defensive linemen in there in the front three, and maybe that's a factor. Not today. Encroached.
Boy, that's one of the things that used to upset me. I'd go crazy at that. You know, I used to tell my guys, how can you line up? Look, here's 67. Right over the ball. You got to watch your ball. Watch your ball. What are you moving for? The ball didn't move. You know, if it happens to an end, you can say, okay, you couldn't see it, or you thought you saw something. When you line up on that thing, you move when the ball moves.
He looked up like you hurt his feelings.
Look, he's getting red. See, Robin's got ball spot in the back's getting red, but he's saying the same thing. Jump offside, you line up on the ball.
Second and 8 from the 25. Bruner going deep for nobody. Mike Miller might have broken off a pattern. He's the young man with all that speed that they picked up from Green Bay. He's not that fast, however.
I think that's what happened. I think that, he probably didn't know his patterns. He was supposed to go deep. Let's watch some of that pass protection. There's Gordon King on Youngblood. See, he got his arms out there. That's good. Keep him away. But one thing about Jack Youngblood, he just keeps working. See Scott Bruner's reaction there? He's saying, hey, he was supposed to go deep, not him.
Third down. Bruner picked off by the Rams. Leroy Irvin. Back in Giant territory, down the sideline to the 26, where he's knocked out of bounds by Missler, but the Rams will have it in good shape. Ernest Gray, the intended receiver. 20-yard return after the interception.
I think this is one that Bruner throws out of frustration. I think that last play frustrated him. Here, he just throws this one up for grabs. He throws it. I mean,
the Giant 27. 6:27. Look at the last 6 possessions. Very unfortunate developments. Ferragamo to Eric Dickerson. Van Pelt made the stop. 6:15 and clock running. Rams leading the Giants by 10. Giant Stadium. Mike Grumman checked over the sidelines. Excuse me, John. 2nd and 8.
I was just going to say, one person that's not here today is the owner of the Rams, Georgia Frontieri. She woke up the other morning and she had a retina thing. It was a torn retina, and she had retina surgery this week. And so it's the first Ram game she's missed.
Dickerson again. Fumble. Lawrence Taylor picks it up. He fumbles. The scramble. Still a scramble. Giants finally came up with it.
A lot of bodies flying around on that one. Let's watch Lawrence Taylor. He takes on the tight end, takes on the guard block, and he goes through. There's a ball. Taylor picks it up. He starts to run, but then he forgot to bring the ball with him. There goes the ball bouncing. There goes, look, guys flying around. Kelly, Neal, a whole bunch of dive on it. Jackson. All these guys.
And Bill Courier finally recovered for the Giants. Thankfully. Great lineup on CBS tonight, as usual. 60 minutes first. Alice, One Day at a Time. The Jeffersons. Goodnight, Beantown. And Johnny Blue.
Johnny Blue sounds like the weak safety of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He used to play it with the Packers at the same time as Johnny Blood. Brenner. Screen pass Carpenter. Blockers in front. Carpenter is popped, and one more time the yellow flag is thrown. Rams are celebrating, so it must be against the Giants. Reggie Doss was the man who made the hit. Yes, sir.
That's an illegal hand or illegal push or something, but if that goes in the area of holding, that would be the 7th of those penalties that the Giants have suffered today.
They must be nearing or over 100 yards in penalty.
There has to be some kind of record for that penalty.
Illegal block. Number 68 on the offense.
The 8th major penalty. They've been penalized 9 times for 81 yards. Subtract those 81 plus what they had gained, just like that one. Intended for Ernest Gray. It was Leroy Irvin who leaped and batted it away.
Well, you can't throw that pattern in there against the zone as we see him coming in here. These running patterns, see, there's too many guys in there. See, you have the linebacker underneath, the corner coming in, the safety behind. Against the zone, you have to throw stopping type patterns where you come back and you turn and hook and end and those types of things.
You can tell by the way Ernest Gray ran the pattern, he knew there were too many men in there.
He knew he wasn't going to get that one.
11-0 Detroit over Tampa Bay. 2nd and 15 here at Giant Stadium. Stepped into the pocket, hit just as he stepped in. Pass almost picked off, and Leroy Irvin, I think, came up with it. What a remarkable interception by Leroy Irvin.
He did. It's the same type of thing. They're running those running patterns against the zone instead of the hooks and stuff. We see the same thing happen here. See, they're trying to get into the post, but look what happened. You see the weak safety is going to be right in there on one side, the safety on one side, corner on the other side.
Heck of an interception by Leroy Irvin. That was Cromwell who came over to help. Coming up next, U.S. Open Tennis Championships. Number 1 seeded John McEnroe against Vince Van Patten. McEnroe looked sharp against John Sodry. So did Jimmy Connors yesterday. And apparently so did Yvonne Lindell today. Two tight end set up. Dickerson. Protecting the ball. Tripped up by Curtis McGriff.
I think he's protecting that toe a little, too. You know, since he had that injury and they taped his foot and so on, he's not the same running back that he was before that.
I believe the Giants have just stopped the clock by calling a timeout. Dickerson got 3 yards. The ball is at the Ram 27. The Giants should have 2 timeouts remaining. I wonder if, I know it bothers golfers, but I wonder if it were raining, how would it bother Eric Dickerson wearing glasses underneath the helmet?
Well, it does, and you know what they do when they have that rain? I remember Bob Griesio always did it. They carry a little towel inside their belt, and they just keep taking them off and wiping the glasses off all the time. He has a lot of stuff in this. He has that neck thing. You got that mouthpiece hanging out, the chin, the glasses.
Face mask.
Face mask. Good stuff. 29 is a funny number for him. I told John Robbins, I said, I don't like that number. He said, well, you will after you watch him play. He said, some guys carry good numbers and some guys make good numbers.
Well, one of the best 29s ever to play played here. A teammate of mine with the Giants was Alex Webster.
Big Red. That was Harry Carson on the sideline, the Giants all-pro inside linebacker who has a bad ankle. They didn't know. He didn't practice all week, and they thought that yesterday he might still play, but then they decided not to use him today.
Probably a wise decision. They'll get him back sooner. Pitch out Dickerson. He's definitely not cutting like he did earlier. Mike Dennis made the stop along with Brad Van Pelt. Check out St. Louis and New Orleans. The Saints 28, St. Louis 10. New Orleans just scored a 35-yard pass from Dave Wilson, who has replaced Stabler, to Ken Puckett. They will play St. Louis. Dallas will next week. Giants will be in Atlanta, Washington against Philadelphia. And, of course, the NFL today will precede that. Both teams have 1 timeout remaining. I'm sorry, the Rams have 2. The ball is at the 31-yard line. 3rd down and 3. And Kelly over-talking and Ferragamo over-talking. John Robinson, I must say, John, has seemed very relaxed on the sideline throughout the whole afternoon.
You know, he does that. He's a very calm thinker. He's not a calm person. You know, there's some people that are calm people and calm thinkers. I think Tom Landry's that way. John is an excitable guy, but a calm thinker.
He's one of the few head coaches who doesn't have a card with some notes on it or a headset or something like that. He's just there and leading.
I think that's the way it should be.
On the other side, Bill Parcells communicating directly with his assistants up in the press box.
I've always said if by the time you get to the game, if you have to write it down to remember it, you shouldn't use it anyway.
Dickerson. It's a Dickerson move. And so is that last one where he lowered the shoulder. Beasley Reese knocked him out of bounds, but not until he got a first down.
Let's watch how they block Lawrence Taylor out here, 56. We see that's David Hill on him. You see, he gets him hooked. Because what happened, you see, Taylor started to look into the backfield to see where Dickerson was, and when he stood up to look, then David Hill just chopped him from the outside.
That was a good job by David Hill. That's the way it should be done. That was a good technique.
Right. You know, an outside linebacker just has to take on that tight end and be patient. Let the ball come to you. You don't have to look over into the backfield, because that always happens. The guy goes underneath and cuts you.
Alexander has replaced Dickerson. And they give it to him. The yellow marker one more time appears. Beasley Reese on the tackle.
That's one thing you always have more of early, conversely less of later, is flags in a football game. I don't know if the officials are just tougher earlier in the season to set a pattern.
Illegal formation on the offense. Refused. It will be 2nd down.
Eric Dickerson Dickerson doesn't have 100 yards yet, but had he had those 31 back, a penalty, he'd have over 100 yards.
That's what he has, 27 for 83. It'll be 2nd and 9, 4.5 minutes left to play. Rams 16, Giants 6. Keeping it on the ground, giving to Dickerson. He might have gotten a yard. So, while Dickerson recovers, let's go for an NFL update to Brent Musburger in New York.
Pat, you told me yesterday that Earl Campbell...
Pretty good contest in the Astrodome.
Well, that Earl Campbell running, that's just a little leftover from last week against Dallas. We had that game, he was doing the same thing against that Dallas defense.
He looked like Earl Campbell of about 4 years ago. All timeouts gone now for the Giants. 3rd down for the Rams, 3rd and 8 at the 48. What about his coaching staff, John? A lot of college coaches coming into the pros along with Robinson. Is that going to be a minus, or does it make any difference?
I don't think it is. You know, we were talking about that last night, and I said that the way the game is going today, offensively with all the motion and types of things, defensively, they're all 3-man line teams, and that's what the colleges are used to playing against. And of course, some of those guys are old friends of his. Marv Gu was with them at SC for years. Hudson Hout, those type of guys. Bruce Snyder, he's known those guys for years, and I think that they're ready to coach pro football.
Sure looks like it. 3rd down and 8 from the 48. Eric Amo's going to put it up. As a man, oh, he had him. Otis Grant broke clean right at the end. Ferragamo may have just misread it a little bit. Working with a new receiver sometimes can be very difficult. Ferragamo had a good day nevertheless.
Well, he threw it in the right place. It was an all-out blitz. Again, there was no safety sitting in the middle, and he threw that ball right up there to the post, and it was just inches off.
Talking to Jack Faulkner before the game, the Ram organization, said if anything, he felt it's unusual to say about a quarterback that Ferragamo had too much confidence.
I'd rather have that than the opposite of that.
Misko hangs it high. Beasley reached their catch signal at the 17. He said Ferragamo had so much believed in his arm, so much confidence that sometimes they felt that he tried to throw it in places that he shouldn't. But as you say, I'd rather have too much confidence than no confidence.
Well, you know, Kenny Stabler was the same way. He used to believe that if there was a defender on the right and a defender on the left, and he had a little hole in there between those defenders, that he could get it in there to his receiver, and he was right most of the time. I think you have to have it.
If you're going to be a leader, you have to have it. Brunner under pressure. Ball is on the ground. Giants still have it. Reggie Doss is the man who put the heat on Brunner. Boy, they got a lot of pressure from that defensive front three.
I think that that's been the most impressive thing about this Ram outing today is the defense has really been down. You know, for years offensive line and the Giant offense, I think it's more frustration than anything else because they're really suffering from lack of consistency. Either they don't get anything going or they do get something going, then they had those penalties.
Quick count, quick snap to Jennings. He gets off a typical Jennings. Leroy Irvin will bring it back. Oh, he is cut down by Flowers. And up quickly is Irvin. 51-yard punt by Jennings. 3 more scores. This one is 16-6 in favor of the Rams. Green Bay. Boy, it's hard to keep them off the board. 75 yards from Dickey to James Lofton. And they go ahead of Houston 38-31. Minnesota 27. Cleveland coming back. 21. New Orleans 28. St. Louis 17. Jim Hart to Pat Tilley. The 18th year for Jim Hart. Next Sunday, NFL Today will begin it all. The Giants will be in Atlanta, Washington against Philadelphia, and Dallas goes to St. Louis. And that's always, over the years, been right down to the wire.
I remember 2 years ago we did the game in St. Louis, and St. Louis upset the Cowboys.
Right. Here's Dickerson, straight ahead for a yard. Van Pelt comes out of that stack flip limping. Brad heads to the sideline.
For a running back or a tailback, that Dickerson sure pounds that ball in there, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. I think 2 things are bothering him right now. One, that toe, and the other being the fumble that the Giants recovered before. He maybe lost some of his abandon because of the injury and because he fumbled.
And probably the third thing, he may be a little tired. This is probably the longest he's played, maybe since he's gotten out of high school.
Right, because he alternated, you remember, at SMU with Craig James.
Saying right now, I didn't know football games lasted this long.
I wonder if this is still his favorite field.
Probably not. After he got that artificial turf toe.
McLaughlin made the tackle. Time remaining 2.5 minutes now. All the timeouts are gone for the Giants, so they can't stop it that way. We'll have the 2-minute warning. The Rams will take a vacation in the huddle. Rob Carpenter along with Jeff Rutledge.
He had a good day's work. Rob Carpenter did. Jeff Rutledge, of course, he's the third quarterback.
He had a good preseason. Dickerson gets it one more time. Ball comes loose. Giants have it. Joe McLaughlin made the recovery.
I'll tell you what, this thing isn't over yet. If the Giants could just get one in here, then that would tighten it up in a hurry.
So, we're at the 2-minute warning. And it's the Rams 16, the Giants 6. You never know. Pat Summerall with John Madden. Giants Stadium. The Rams lead the Giants 16-6. Giants out of timeouts. Rams have 2 left. Minute 59 left to play. Giants have the ball. Ram 45. Got to work the sideline. Picked off. Kirk Collins comes up with the Ram interception, and that'll just about finish it off. He gets it back into Giant territory, and now the Rams can just sit on it because the Giants have no more timeouts. A lot of the fans figured it out before we did and left. Wonder what's going through Phil Simms' head right now. If I had a chance, what would I have done, or how would I have done? And Jeff Rutledge, who, as we said, had an outstanding preseason.
Well, the tough thing about that is being the backup. I'm sure Phil Simms used to be the starter, thought he was going to be the starter, found out this week he wasn't. He was disappointed at first, came in the next day and told Coach Bill Parcells, he said, I'll do whatever you want. But that's easy to say and do during the week. But when you come here and you have to stand on this sideline and watch it, it's awfully tough.
Ferragamo does the meal. And a he is, and as some of the things we've been saying during the afternoon, he'll approach it certainly in a very mature fashion.
Well, I know right now, as he walked off the field after that last interception, he was very frustrated. That was a look of a frustrated person. Of course, he has all week to get it back before they play Atlanta next week. And I don't think you change quarterbacks after one game.
I agree with you. The NFL season of its 64th season, 1983. Executive producer is Terry O'Neill. Senior producer, Charles H. Milton III. This game produced so well, as always, by Robert Stenner. And directed by Sandy Grossman. None better. Speaking of none better, how about the rest of the crew?
That's a tough one. And there's no way to get it off your mind either.
No place to go. No theater to attend. No play good enough to make you forget about it.
And the coach, Bill Parcells, will have those same feelings.
Giving that gum a workout today.
Kind of lonely. You ever notice that when you're losing, there's not a lot of people around the head coach? But if you look over at the other sideline, there's all kinds of people around John Robinson.
That would mean to me that you were never lonely very much because you didn't lose very much.
There weren't many around. You see the difference there? Look at that LA bench. You got coaches, players, guys with hats, officials.
Yeah. Nobody sitting down there.
The biggest smile was number 77, Gary Jeter.
Yeah. That'd be a great thrill for him to come back here and then put away a victory like this, 16-6. And they had some more chances, John. They could have scored some more points. John Robinson, very happy individual right now, I'm sure. His coaching debut in the NFL, a rousing success. Score probably doesn't mean rousing, but for him to come out of college football and take on the NFL and succeed has to be very gratifying. Pat Summerall and John Madden. And John, your impressions after you watched the two teams on opening day?
Well, we were talking about the Rams, and I think one of the things John Robinson was saying is he didn't know about his defense. I think he has to be impressed with that. I think the Giants are going to be a little frustrated.
I think indeed you're right, because the Rams have won it 16-6. And the defense played well. So be sure to stay with us as we bring you the U.S. Open Tennis Championships featuring John McEnroe against Vince Van Patten. That's next. So for John Madden, I'm Pat Summerall saying so long from East Rutherford, New Jersey, where the final score is the Rams 16, the Giants 6. You've been watching CBS coverage of the